also for you being a part of the show. So what does a former great at Arizona State University think? Jake the Snake Plummer joins us on 365 Sports. Jake, when you and I spoke earlier, it was still not quite sure. It is now all but official that your alma mater is about to be a part of the Big 12 next, not this season, but next season. Your thoughts and reaction to that, and thank you for your time.
Yeah, I don't know. The whole college scene's pretty wacky. It looks like, the money, wherever the money is, teams are going. But all in all, it doesn't change the maroon and gold, and that it's still the Sun Devils. And there's a rich history there of a lot of great players coming through there, and a lot of great coaches, and long history. And whether it's, I guess, the Pac-8, what it used to be, then the Pac-10, Pac-12. Now it looks like it's going to be the Big 12. As long as it's competitive and these kids get an opportunity to get an education and go play ball and do something special, I guess it really doesn't matter what conference you're in my mind.
Does it sting for nostalgia a little bit for you, or because we've had you on the show before, you have moved, like, people need to know a little bit more about like what your post-football life has been like. You have mentally and physically kind of moved so past where a lot of guys are when it comes to following the game anymore. Does it make you nostalgic, or does it not register as much anymore?
Well, man, I already just got used to saying Pac-12, by working with the Pac-12 network, and they were in the Pac-12, not the Pac-10. And now, it's going to be Big 12. So, I don't know. I don't know. I more than anything, as all this is big news and it's everyone talking about it. It's more concern for me is these young athletes that are getting, being coming out of high school with these guarantees of money and riches, and not necessarily, the emphasis on what it was, just 7-8 years ago of being a student athlete. Now, when colleges and programs and teams make these moves and transitions, it's not for the betterment of these children and these kids. I shouldn't say children, but these young men. It's all for, money and purposes of having money and being able to be competitive with money and clout and ego and who's the best team and can we compete with the SEC and can we have a team represented in the national title game. And so, I more or less have more of a concern for the athletes that are coming out of high school, given these guarantees of all this money, and then they go and they play. Where's their motivation anymore? Because for me, I played for ASU. I played for the Maroon and Gold. I played because I was getting an education, and I played because this college gave me an opportunity with Bruce Snyder, and Bobby Petrino, Danny Cassetto recruiting me. They said, if you come here, we feel you're a very key, important ingredient, maybe the missing ingredient to building this national title team that we want to build here. And I thought, what the hell? That's the only coach in the country that told me that. And so I went, and we damn near did it. Bruce Snyder engineered and had great coaches and players. And so my heart and soul was into playing ball for ASU, and not to make $100,000 or $250,000 or to get a car for me and get a house paid for. And my motivation was to play ball for the Arizona State Sun Devils and to win a national title. Then I knew that riches would come after that. You could go play in the NFL if you stayed healthy and took care of business at the college level. But now, where is the motivation here? What is that motivation? And how many players benefit, but also how many get left behind and still have all the injuries, all the wear and tear, the mental anguish, and have to then cope with that post-career when they're still young men. They're in their mid-20s, early 20s. So as it's a big move for ASU, it's a big move for college football. I think it's more of a move for the industry of college football, not necessarily a very good move for the kids that are really the most important thing in my mind, because they're the action on the field. They're the ones we're going to watch. We're not going to watch the commissioners of these conferences or the coaches or the presidents of these schools or the ADs of these schools have a meeting. We're going to watch these young men put it down on the field. And I think as long as they're rewarded and they're, maybe looked after for long term, something set aside for them with all this money and all this cash generated, something set aside for them long term. So when they turn 35 and their knees start aching when a storm front comes in, they don't have to go pay for that. They've got some kind of like insurance set aside for what they laid down for the Arizona State Sun Devils in the new Big 12 conference. Is there got to be a way to take care of these athletes and long term better than we are. Although, hey, this is a good move for the conference and for the teams. So be it. What does my opinion matter really when it comes down to it?
Jake, and we appreciate that, your transparency, honesty from a perspective of where you have been and where you are now. Could you imagine the Arizona State, let's say Arizona was out the door, and they have been. And then Arizona State, I think they've been kind of scratching and clawing. Dr. Crow was doing everything he could for that not to happen, although he was taking heat because of what the future and reality was. Can you imagine if their rivalry was split up?
Yeah, I mean, that's a long-standing, one of the oldest rivalries in the country, and it has a lot of rich history, being from the same state. We've seen it in other states. We've seen it in other, big-time games that have been split apart because of the realignment. So, for both teams to go, I guess that's a good thing. Although, the main thing is just being competitive. If ASU can go and be competitive and they don't change their logo, as long as Sparky's still on the sideline and the colors stay the same, it doesn't bother me where they're playing. I mean, I'm still going to root for the Sun Devils. I'm still going to pay attention to what they're doing there and give my help when it's needed and go, visit the new coaching staff. I like Coach Dillingham. I think he's born and raised there in Tempe and has a lot of heart behind what he wants to do there. The main thing is just winning ball games. As we saw with, Dion coming here to see you. Does it matter? It's a bunch of news, but does it matter unless they win ball games? And not that winning is the only thing, but in this scene of college football, if you don't win, you're out the door. So back to the kids, back to the players, as long as there is something set aside for them, that a lot of them are realizing, this game of football only lasts a certain amount of time. If you're lucky, you can play through your college career. And if you're really lucky, you get a few years in the NFL. And then if you're blessed by some guardian angels or whatever you want to say, you can have a 10-year career like I had in the NFL, and then set yourself up for financial freedom and the ability to be able to do a lot of good for not only your family and friends, but a lot of good for, any charities or raising awareness for any sorts of causes like what I've been behind with health and wellness and the opportunities I've had to start a company, UMBO, to bring the word out that there's a better way to go about your health and wellness. I mean, those doors opened up because I was able to pick and choose what I wanted to do. And these kids that don't get that opportunity, that maybe go through some injuries or still are getting, their bells rung, their bodies beaten up. I think that hopefully there's some plans in place to allow, like a former NFL player, after 5 years, we don't have insurance. But these college players, none of them have insurance when they get out of college. They got a degree, hopefully. Is there a way to set some funds aside for their, long-term, not financial security, but just, physical security, so they can go get some of these things taken care of? Because playing football, regardless of realignment or Big 12, it's a physical game. It takes a toll on your body.
Yeah. By the way, I was going to ask you about Umbo. I had a bar at the Super Bowl at Radio Row. Really liked it. It was quite tasty.
They're damn good, huh?
Yeah, they are really. They are quite good. And look, you mentioned it, mushrooms and all this. Like, I was going to ask you like how it's going and how Umbo's doing, and because it was really, I'd never even thought about having a mushroom bar before. I'm Italian. I eat them in almost everything. So, but yeah, it was good. It was really good.
Yeah, things are good. It's an educational process with all the news with psychedelics and psych science happening here in Denver, 10,000 plus attendees. When I go and talk mushrooms, because of the past of going in and working with hemp and with Charlotte's Web and the cannabis industry, people automatically assume, or they don't really know much about fungi. They think I'm trying to give them a bar that has psychedelics in it, and that's ridiculous. I mean, I am a believer in what psilocybin and all that can do, but we have to be really careful as we approach, decriminalizing that. While these functional mushrooms, what we're doing at UMBO, they've been used for hundreds of years in Eastern medicine, Chinese medicine, for a multitude of ailments and disease, to treat them, to help with your long-term longevity to bring your body back into balance, to build your immune system, to help with your cognitive function and your sleep and your reactions to stress. They're really a beautiful organism that really can benefit the body in a lot of different ways. So I'm having fun. It's always an educational process for me as I'm learning more and more every day, and then also teaching people every day that these won't trip you out. You won't have hallucinations. They're legal. We sell our bars at REI. Our capsules are amazing. Our Rise and our Rest. Our tinctures are really good if you want to go that route, adding them to a coffee or a morning drink or whatever. But if you're not putting mushrooms into your daily supplements, you've basically eliminated an entire food group from your intake, and it has a lot of benefits. It'd be like, cutting out vegetables. When you pop them back into your body, you start feeling the benefits of that. And so it's an education process. I'm having fun. For me, it's just my path and my journey has been a fun one. I still pay attention to football. I just don't get that involved like I was back when I was working for the Pac-12. But I still enjoy watching, young men go out and put it down and fight for something they believe in.
Jake, we are good friends with Phil Snow, who was the defensive coordinator here at Baylor. He was the DC at Arizona State when you were there. He has told us, particularly just to razz Smokey, the Nebraska fan, stories about that fantastic game that you guys played against them. He's got a billion stories. I mean, he's been everywhere, but just wanted to bring him up. And I know he wasn't your coach, but he was around, and he is an unbelievable guy to just hang around and talk to.
Great coach, man. We had a really good offense. What's happened between 95 and 96 was that we added a couple guys, Derek Rogers mainly, and the scheme on our defense was just awesome. And Coach Snow doesn't get a lot of credit for orchestrating being the D coordinator for that team, for that defense. They were strong, man. They bailed us out on offense many times. But yeah, that 96 season was really special. A lot of great coaches. And I had 4 quarterback coaches in my career. And first was Bobby Petrino, and then Hugh Jackson, and Dan Henson, and John Pettis. And so, Hugh Jackson and Bobby both head coaches in the NFL. I got to get coached by them as a young man at ASU. So, we had a lot of great players, but we did have a lot of great coaches, Phil Snow being one of them.
Jake, we appreciate it. I hope your trip is going well. I know you're up near the mountains in Wyoming, I think you told me, and enjoying that trip. We appreciate it. We've had you on during Super Bowls on Radio Row, and having you today on this what is a huge day with the Big 12, Arizona State, and Utah. That's about to be official sometime later on today. We appreciate it.
Yeah, wow, it's wild. Things are always changing, so anybody listening, though, if you want to go to getumbo.com, check us out. Go read up on it and do your own research. And if you want to feel better, there's a tool there for you. So thanks for the opportunity, guys, to speak and share my thoughts.
You too. Thank you for what you bring to the table as well, and also the website that he gave you at the end.